They counted you out. They wrote you off. They said you'd never bounce back. But God's about to do something so big. They'll have to acknowledge His hand on your life. I need to talk to somebody who's been sitting in the shadows, somebody who's been watching other people celebrate while you've been crying in secret. You know what I'm talking about. You've been in that season where every door slammed shut, where every opportunity turned into a disappointment, where people stopped calling, stopped checking in, stopped believing. And somewhere in the silence, you started to believe them too. Listen to me. That whisper in your spirit right now. That's not defeat. That's the sound of something being strategically repositioned. God hasn't forgotten your name. He's been building something in the dark that's about to explode into the light. And baby, when it does, the same people who deleted your number are going to be searching for your address. I hear God saying somebody's comeback is going to be so dramatic, so undeniable, so completely orchestrated by divine hands that your haters won't be able to attribute it to luck. They won't be able to say you knew somebody. They won't be able to diminish what God is doing. They're going to have to stand there with their mouths open and admit that the hand of the Almighty is on your life. Does anybody want to see that? Does anybody want to watch God embarrass the narrative that was written about you? See, I used to think a comeback was about proving people wrong. I used to think it was about showing up to the reunion looking good, driving something expensive, posting something impressive. But God showed me something that shook my whole perspective. He said your comeback isn't for them. Your comeback is for the version of you that wanted to give up. Your comeback is for the little girl or little boy inside you who was told they'd never amount to anything. Your comeback is for every moment you cried yourself to sleep thinking you missed your shot. This is personal. And when God makes it personal, baby, He doesn't play small. He doesn't do subtle. He doesn't whisper when He could shout from the rooftops. No, no, no. When God decides to vindicate you, when He decides to restore you, when He decides to elevate you, He does it in such a way that nobody can deny it. Nobody can take credit for it. Nobody can explain it away. Your doubters are about to become your documentarians. They're going to tell your story whether they want to or not. I wish I had somebody who told me years ago that the people laughing at my setback were actually going to be the audience for my setup. I wish somebody had pulled me aside when I was in that dark season and said, baby, hold on. This embarrassment you're feeling right now, this shame, this sense of failure, it's all being recorded. God's keeping receipts. And there's coming a day when He's going to pull out the tape and play it back. But this time with a different ending. This time with your ending. Somebody needs to hear this today. Your story isn't over. The chapter that broke you, that humiliated you, that made you want to disappear. That's not the final chapter. That's the chapter that makes the comeback so sweet. That's the chapter that makes the testimony so powerful. That's the chapter that makes people lean in and say, how did you survive that? How did you come back from that? And you're going to smile and say, I didn't, God did. Right. Oh, God. I feel something in the atmosphere right now. I feel chains breaking. I feel agreements being canceled. I feel old narratives being torn up and thrown in the fire. Somebody's season of silence is ending today. Somebody's season of obscurity is lifting today. Somebody's season of waiting in the wings while everybody else got called to the stage is over. I rebuke the lie that you missed your moment. I rebuke the lie that you're too late. I rebuke the lie that God moved on and found somebody else. That's not how your Father operates. He doesn't have backup plans for His children. You're not the understudy. You're not the second choice. You're the deliberate, intentional, specifically chosen vessel for what's about to happen. And what's about to happen is going to make up for everything you lost. Listen, I'm talking to somebody who lost relationships in the season of struggle. People who said they'd ride with you forever suddenly couldn't find the time, suddenly got too busy, suddenly had to focus on their own journey. And you internalized that. You thought maybe you were too much, too needy, too broken. Maybe you weren't worth sticking around for. Baby, those people were cleared out. They were removed. They were escorted out of your life by angels who knew they didn't have the capacity to celebrate what God was about to do. You think that was rejection, that was protection. God was making room. God was clearing the stage. God was removing the people who would have tried to take credit for his miracle. Your new season doesn't have room for people who weren't there in the pit. And I know that hurts. I know you wanted them to see it. I know you wanted to prove them wrong. But God said, baby, I'm not upgrading you so you can impress the people who downgraded you. I'm upgrading you so you can step into rooms you didn't even know existed. I'm upgrading you so you can meet people who actually recognize your value. I'm upgrading you so you can operate at a level where the old connections wouldn't have even made sense. You know what I'm talking about. You're about to walk into rooms and realize, oh, this is why that door closed. This is why that connection fell apart. This is why that opportunity didn't work out. Because God was aiming me somewhere bigger, somewhere better, somewhere that requires a different version of me. And you've been becoming that version in secret. You've been developing in the dark. You've been growing where nobody could see. You've been learning lessons that you couldn't have learned in the spotlight. You've been building spiritual muscle that you're going to need for what's next. God doesn't embarrass your doubters by making you famous. He embarrasses them by making you faithful. He embarrasses them by making you fruitful. He embarrasses them by making you so full of joy, so full of peace, so full of purpose that people can't figure out how you're thriving after everything you went through. That's the comeback nobody saw coming. Not because of what you achieve, but because of who you become. Somebody in this room has been so focused on the external comeback, the career comeback, the financial comeback, the relationship comeback. And God is saying, baby, I'm doing an internal comeback first. I'm restoring your confidence. I'm restoring your identity. I'm restoring your sense of worth that got shattered in the storm. Because when I restore that, when I rebuild that foundation, everything else I stack on top of it is going to be unshakable. Your doubters didn't just doubt your abilities. They doubted your value. They doubted your worthiness. They doubted whether you deserved good things. And somewhere along the way, you started agreeing with them. You started thinking maybe they were right. Maybe you don't deserve it. Maybe you're asking for too much. Maybe you should just be grateful for scraps. Not anymore. I hear God saying he's about to show you what you're really worth. He's about to show you what he's willing to do for a child who trusts him. He's about to show you that the dreams you buried because people said they were too big, those weren't your dreams. Those were his dreams that he planted in you. And he doesn't plant dreams to mock you. He plants them to mark you. He plants them to identify you as the person who's going to carry that specific assignment. Your doubters saw the dream as delusional. God sees it as destiny. And baby, when God activates a destiny, when he says it's time, when he speaks the word over your life, hell itself cannot stop it. Demons can't stop it. Haters can't stop it. Your own past can't stop it. Your own mistakes can't stop it. Your own fears can't stop it. When God says go, you go. Listen, I need you to understand something about the season you're about to enter. It's not going to look like you thought. It's not going to unfold the way you planned. God's not following your blueprint. He's following his own. And his blueprint includes moments where your enemies are going to have to help you. His blueprint includes doors opening that you didn't even knock on. His blueprint includes favor that makes absolutely no natural sense. You're going to get opportunities you're not qualified for. And you're going to take them anyway because God qualifies who he calls. You're going to be in rooms with people who should have never given you the time of day. And they're going to become allies because God softens hearts. You're going to see provision show up from directions you never looked. And you're going to realize God has people planted everywhere, waiting for the signal to bless you. This is what it looks like when God embarrasses your doubters. He doesn't just open one door. He opens 12. He doesn't just give you one breakthrough. He gives you breakthrough on top of breakthrough on top of breakthrough until people stop questioning and start studying. Until people stop criticizing and start celebrating. Until people stop doubting and start declaring that surely the Lord is with you. Does anybody want that testimony? Oh God, I feel the spirit of acceleration right now. I feel things that should have taken 10 years being compressed into 10 months. I feel relationships that should have taken forever to heal being restored in a moment. I feel provisions that should have been impossible suddenly becoming available. Somebody's about to experience the supernatural speed of God. And it's going to feel disorienting. You're going to have to adjust to the pace. You're going to have to get comfortable with good things happening rapidly. You're going to have to retrain your mind to expect favor instead of fighting. You're going to have to learn how to receive instead of always hustling to achieve. Because this comeback, baby, it's not about your grind. It's about His grace. I know you're used to working for everything. I know you're used to scratching and clawing and fighting for every inch. But God is saying, in this season, I need you to learn how to rest while I work. I need you to learn how to trust while I move. I need you to learn how to worship while I wage war on your behalf. Your job is not to figure out how. Your job is to believe that. Believe that God is working behind scenes you can't see. Believe that God is having conversations about you in rooms you haven't entered yet. Believe that God is preparing people to bless you who don't even know your name yet. Believe that your comeback is already in motion, already being orchestrated, already being arranged. And while you're believing, while you're trusting, while you're worshiping, something's happening in the spiritual realm. Angels are being deployed. Demons are being bound. Obstacles are being removed. Paths are being cleared. Resources are being released. Your doubters can't see it yet, but they're about to. I'm talking to somebody who's been afraid to hope again. You've been hurt too many times, disappointed too many times, let down too many times. And so you've built walls, you've lowered expectations. You've trained yourself not to want too much, because at least if you don't expect anything, you can't be disappointed, baby. Those walls have to come down. God can't fill closed hands. He can't bless a heart that won't open. He can't do the miraculous in a life that's decided miracles don't happen anymore. I need you to risk it. I need you to hope again. I need you to dream again. I need you to believe again. Not in your ability, but in His. Not in your strength, but in His. Not in your plan, but in His. And yes, it's scary. Yes, it feels vulnerable. Yes, there's a chance you could be disappointed again. But baby, there's also a chance that God is about to do exactly what He promised. There's a chance that this is actually your moment. There's a chance that the breakthrough you've been praying for is standing at your door right now, waiting for you to open it. What if you're one decision away? What if you're one act of faith away? What if you're one moment of surrender away from everything changing? I rebuke the spirit of cynicism. I rebuke the voice that says it's too good to be true. I rebuke the fear that says you'll just get hurt again. That's not God's voice. God's voice is the one saying, try me. Test me. Watch me come through. Your doubters said you'd never recover. God says, watch this. Your doubters said you'd never rise again. God says, watch this. Your doubters said your best days were behind you. God says, baby, watch this. Because what's coming is going to be so good, so abundant, so overflowing that you're going to need new language to describe it. You're going to need new faith to contain it. You're going to need new thinking to process it. And your doubters are going to need new excuses to explain it. But they won't have any, because God doesn't give people wiggle room when He's making a statement. He doesn't leave loopholes when He's proving a point. He doesn't whisper when He's declaring victory. He makes it loud. He makes it clear. He makes it undeniable. I'm talking to the single mother who's been working 3 jobs and still barely making it. The one who's been praying for a breakthrough while her kids are watching her cry at the kitchen table. Baby, God sees you. He sees every sacrifice. He sees every missed meal so your babies could eat. He sees every night you fell asleep praying instead of sleeping. And He's about to do something so big in your finances that you're going to have margin. You're going to have breathing room. You're going to have overflow. Your doubters said you'd always struggle. God's about to show them what He does for a mother who trusts Him. I'm talking to the entrepreneur who's been grinding in obscurity, the one who's been building and nobody's been paying attention, the one who's been posting and getting crickets, the one who's been creating and feeling invisible. Baby, your anonymity was your incubation. God's been hiding you on purpose. He's been developing your gift away from the noise. And when He releases you, when He gives you visibility, it's going to be so sudden, so overwhelming, so explosive that you won't even know how to process it. Your doubters said you were wasting your time. God's about to show them what happens when passion meets purpose, meets divine timing. I'm talking to the person who's been battling sickness, the one who's been fighting in secret, the one who's been believing for healing while everyone else has moved on with their lives. Baby, your faith has not been in vain. Every prayer you've whispered in pain, God caught it. Every tear you've cried in desperation, God bottled it. Every moment you chose to worship instead of worry, God recorded it. And your healing is on the way. Not just physical healing, but emotional healing, spiritual healing, mental healing, relational healing. Your doubters said you'd never be the same. And they're right. You won't be the same. You're going to be better, stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more powerful. You know what I love about God? He doesn't just restore what you lost. He restores it with interest. He gives back what was stolen. But He multiplies it. He returns what was taken, but He adds to it. He doesn't just heal the wound. He makes the scar a testimony. He doesn't just fix what was broken. He makes it more beautiful than it was before. That's the comeback nobody saw coming. Because people expected you to just survive. They expected you to just get by. They expected you to just barely make it. But God doesn't do barely. God doesn't do just enough. God doesn't do minimum. When God restores, He does it abundantly. When God heals, He does it completely. When God promotes, He does it publicly. When God vindicates, He does it powerfully. Somebody's about to experience undeniable favor, undeniable provision, undeniable restoration, undeniable vindication. The kind where people can't even pretend it's coincidence. The kind where even your enemies have to admit God did that. And listen, when that happens, when the breakthrough comes, when the doors open, when the provision flows, don't you dare shrink back. Don't you dare apologize for being blessed. Don't you dare dim your light because it makes other people uncomfortable. You didn't choose this. God chose you. You didn't orchestrate this. God orchestrated it. You didn't make this happen. God made it happen. So walk in it, own it, steward it, celebrate it. Let people see what God does for the ones who trust Him in the dark. Let people see what God does for the ones who worship through the waiting. Let people see what God does for the ones who refuse to let go of His promises. You're not bragging on yourself. You're bragging on Him. And baby, He's about to give you so much to brag about, so much testimony, so many moments where you're going to shake your head in disbelief, So many times when you're going to say, God, how did you even do this? He's going to restore relationships you thought were dead. He's going to open doors you thought were locked forever. He's going to heal wounds you thought would scar you for life. He's going to resurrect dreams you thought were buried. He's going to give you beauty for ashes, joy for mourning, praise for despair. That's the comeback nobody saw coming. Because nobody was watching God. They were watching you. They were measuring you by your worst day. They were defining you by your biggest failure. They were labeling you by your longest struggle. But God never measures you by what you went through. He measures you by what you're going through it for. And you've been going through all of this for such a time as this, for such a moment as this, for such a purpose as this. Every tear was watering seeds. Every setback was setting up the story. Every closed door was protecting you from settling for less than God's best. You didn't miss anything. You've been exactly where you needed to be, learning exactly what you needed to learn, becoming exactly who you needed to become. And now it's time. Time for the reveal. Time for the manifestation. Time for the world to see what God's been building in private. Time for your doubters to become your witnesses. Time for your test to become your testimony. Time for your mess to become your message. I hear God saying, tell them I'm about to embarrass every narrative, every limitation, every label, every lie, every accusation, every assumption. I'm about to show them who you really are. I'm about to show them who I created you to be. I'm about to show them what happens when heaven backs a human. Listen. Can I tell you something that's going to shift your perspective? The people who doubted you weren't your enemies. They were your trainers. They were the resistance that built your strength. They were the opposition that developed your resilience. They were the critics that refined your message. They were the haters that clarified your calling. Every no you received was making you more determined. Every door that closed was making you more creative. Every person who left was making you more focused. Every setback was making you more strategic. You thought you were losing, but God was training you. And now you're about to step into arenas that require every bit of strength you developed. You're about to face opportunities that require every bit of resilience you built. You're about to walk into rooms that require every bit of confidence you forged in the fire. Your doubters didn't break you, they made you. And when they see you now, when they see what you've become, when they see how you've grown, they're not going to recognize you. They're going to be looking for the person they remember, the broken one, the defeated one, the hopeless one. But that person doesn't exist anymore. You're new. You're transformed. You're upgraded. Does anybody feel that in their spirit right now? You're not who you used to be. You're not even who you were last month. God's been doing accelerated growth. He's been doing intensive transformation. He's been doing radical renewal. And, baby, the person stepping into this new season is someone your doubters have never met before. They knew the old you, the insecure you, the apologetic you, the people-pleasing you, the desperate for approval you. But this version knows who she is. This version knows who she is. This version doesn't need validation from people who couldn't see her value in the first place. This version walks in authority. This version operates in confidence. This version moves in power. And sis, when heaven backs you, bro, when heaven backs you, there's nothing that can stand against you. No weapon formed will prosper. No plot will succeed. No scheme will work. No attack will land. You're covered. You're protected. You're anointed. You're appointed. You're equipped. You're empowered. And you're about to walk in it. So I need you to lift your head, straighten your crown, wipe your tears, set your face like flint, plant your feet, square your shoulders, take a deep breath, and get ready. Get ready for divine appointments. Get ready for unexpected favor. Get ready for supernatural provision. Get ready for accelerated healing. Get ready for restored relationships. Get ready for vindication. Get ready for elevation. Get ready for manifestation. Get ready for the comeback that's going to make your story legendary. Not because of who you are, but because of who your God is. He's the God of the turnaround. He's the God of the comeback. He's the God of the underdog. He's the God of the misunderstood. He's the God of the counted out. He's the God of the written off. He's the God of the left behind. And He's getting ready to show up and show out in your life. Your doubters won't know what hit them. One day they're laughing. The next day they're learning. One day they're mocking. The next day they're marveling. One day they're dismissing you. The next day they're discussing you. Because God flipped the script. And baby, when God writes your story, He doesn't do predictable. He doesn't do boring. He doesn't do average. He does extraordinary. He does miraculous. He does unbelievable. He does things that make people say, only God could have done that. So get ready. Your season is shifting. Your story is turning. Your situation is changing. Right now, in this moment, as you receive these words, as you accept this truth, as you believe this promise, things are moving in the spiritual realm. Doors are unlocking. Resources are being released. People are being positioned. Opportunities are being prepared. Everything you need for your comeback is being set in motion. And when it manifests, when it shows up, when it breaks through into the natural realm, people are going to be shocked. They're going to be stunned. They're going to be speechless. And you're going to be grateful. You're going to be humble. You're going to be thankful, not because you impressed people, but because God proved Himself faithful. That's the comeback nobody saw coming. Not even you. But God saw it. God planned it. God orchestrated it. And God's about to deliver it. So hold on, baby. Hold on. Your embarrassment is about to turn into endorsement. Your shame is about to turn into celebration. Your rejection is about to turn into selection. Your setback is about to turn into setup. God's about to embarrass your doubters with your comeback. And when He does, when the smoke clears, when the dust settles, when the noise dies down, there's going to be one undeniable truth standing in the center of it all. God did that, and nobody, can take that away from you. Now walk like you believe it. Talk like you believe it. Live like you believe it. Your comeback starts now.